going deeper into our faith is something that we all hope to do this Lenten season. And at times, it involves praying over the Word of God and remembering. As I reflected on the reading from the book of Deuteronomy, our first reading, I was drawn to Moses' words of warning. He warns to be earnestly on guard, not to forget the things which your own eyes have seen, nor let them slip from your memory as long as you live. As the people of God stand on the threshold of the promised land, Moses is both encouraging and also cautioning the Israelites against drifting away from God through either their inattention or their preoccupation with other events or interest in their lives. The Israelites firsthand had seen the saving power of God at work in their journey out of slavery in Egypt. God had brought them through the desert, and now Moses wants them to remember what God has instructed and how this had brought about wisdom, intelligence, and now a new land of their own. Moses was a wise man, and he knows how easy it is when a hardship or a crisis is past, the temptation that we all feel to forget about God, how he helps, or maybe how our family or our friends were there for us, helping us to get back on solid ground. Likewise, Moses knows that prosperity in our lives, that too can lead to this false sense of security, that we don't need to follow all of God's commandments or other teachings as fully as we would when we're struggling and calling out to God, please help me, I'll do anything. Lent's a great time. It's a great time to do some remembering how God has led each one of us through our own desert experiences. Maybe even times when we felt unable to break free of harmful or sinful actions. Most everyone, by the time we're adults, possibly even young people like high school students, have been through some challenging times in our lives. Sometimes it's our own personal situation, and other times it's indirectly through our family and our friends. So let me ask us all to think about these questions. How did God's teaching, how did God's presence help you or one of your loved ones? And how did going through this experience and God's presence and guidance change your relationship with God, but also your loved ones? Now, I know for most of us, we don't want to think about the hard times. We want to leave them behind. But it's good to reflect on how God has helped, how God has healed, and how God has guided us through those moments. And I would say, rather than being dragged down by remembering the struggle, let our focus be on how God loved us through these storms, how God brought us to a deeper faith in him and love for him and those in our lives. You know, in today's gospel, Jesus makes something really clear. He says he didn't come to abolish the law, the 10 Commandments, and the teachings of the prophets. He came for another reason. He came to deepen our love and our obedience and our trust towards God the Father in following them. See, Jesus not only wants us to follow the teachings, but he wants us to do it out of love for God and for each other. It's the same love for God and for the children and for the grandchildren that Moses speaks of when he says this to them at the end. He tells them not to forget what God has taught us, but to teach all these experiences to your children and to your grandchildren. My brothers and sisters, we need to remember so we can pass our faith to the next generation. That's a great reason to prayerfully reflect on God's teachings and his presence in our lives. As I said in the beginning, it is so inspired to be here and praying with these high school students with Cardinal Spellman. They're listening to the Word of God, but at the same time, they're looking to us to share our stories, to share our faith, and to share our love for God. May we do this with love and trust in our Heavenly Father.